What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, host of Set Point here on OATIIZ Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We have another interview with another NCAA men's volleyball representative, but this time we got two for the price of one. We have David Kniffin, UC Irvine men's volleyball coach, and Brett Sheward, the setter for UC Irvine men's volleyball. How are you two doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing great. How about you, David?
Doing well, thanks.
All right. So without any further delay, let us begin. So obviously you are in the NCAA tournament, but Selection Sunday, was there a little bit of a stress level that was kind of up, or did you know you were all confident that you made the tournament?
I think we were pretty confident, and it was kind of funny because we were on the way back from Hawaii, so we were actually in the terminal waiting to board when everybody found out when the selection show was going on. So it was very calm, and we just kind of asked around. I didn't even watch it. They just said we're playing Penn State first round, and I said okay, and we got on our flight.
Did you want to add to that, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brett had a pretty good chicken terry plate in front of him, so he wasn't going to get distracted.
Excellent. Now, David, you and I have kind of had the theme of superheroes and whatnot. Me referencing Batman, and then you saying the hero always arrives late. What can this movie, or what could this season be best described as in terms of a movie?
Yeah, I think we were just talking about playoff moments, and there's always some up and down and some tension. I mean, that's what makes for a good movie. But yeah, I mean, the fun thing about live sports is that there is going to be that tension of sometimes guys are going to show up and be a little bit better on one night and maybe not as much, but we got some pretty good volleyball players, and I think specifically we're referencing Ilir Heno, and just that, he is certainly a player of the year candidate. That's the kind of guy you'd expect to show up, in the big moment.
And then how about you, Brett? What can you describe this season as a movie regarding this? It can be like a title of a movie for that matter.
That's tough. I don't really know. There's certainly been ups and downs, but really confident going into the tournament and just trying to find our consistency. Putting a couple matches back to back together that we can play well and play together.
All right. Now, we talked about heroes, but you all were basically the road warriors. You had to play Hawaii on the road in the Big West Conference tournament semifinals. Did you think you had that villain mentality where you had to basically win that one and kind of be the road warriors on that one?
I'm going to try to get on board with the movie theme here. I think there's been moments through this season where it's felt like it's crawled along at the pace of kind of like a slow baseball movie with character development. So it's I wouldn't say we're quite Bull Durham in terms of a band of misfits, but then again, I wouldn't say we're as clear and straightforward as a For Love of the Game in terms of the level of play that we're trying to focus at. But no, I don't think there's any villains involved in this. I mean, I think this is a team that's just in search of the best volleyball available to us. It'd be easy to look at a storyline, but we go in and we play Penn State, and maybe as a reporter, it'd be good just to mention, there's a lot that's said in what's said, and there's a lot that's said in what's not said. And I will say that, if I had a kid and he was going to play college volleyball for one of these coaches out there, Mark Pavlik would be on that very short list. And, I look at that team and the professionalism, they're going to be well prepared when they come in. I look at least at this first round matchup, and there's no villain involved. This is just two good teams that are going to go play the best volleyball they can. And both teams should be respected for the body of work they put together, but also just the ethos, and kind of the commitment that they bring to their student athletes and the holistic approach to the collegiate volleyball experience.
Now, you talk about the Penn State matchup. Obviously, this one might be the best first round matchup of the four. No offense to the other three matchups. What's it going to be like facing Penn State, seeing as you haven't seen them this season? Both of you can answer this question, by the way.
Yeah, I'll take it first. Yeah, I expect Penn State to be very clear on what they need to do. You know, that sometimes you play a team out of region and maybe they haven't had the exposure to some of the West Coast teams. And so it feels a little bit like figuring each other out as you go into the match. I do not expect that to be the case with Penn State. I think we will be well scouted and understood. They've matched up against West Coast teams. They have very clear understanding of what their identity is, and it's been practiced throughout the season. They've been consistent with their lineup. And so, you know, I would expect this is like an old school Final Four matchup, you know, where your first round is a legitimate first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Like Niff said, they're going to be consistent and they know who they are. We haven't played them this season, but that doesn't mean we don't know what they're going to do. We have a week to prepare for them. So we have a lot of time to prepare going into the match. And they won their conference, so they're a deserving team, and it'll be a good match.
Now, you faced some EIVA opponents this season in Princeton and George Mason. What was it like facing those two teams, and what can you say about the EIVA and how it basically had one of the more interesting conference tournaments?
Yeah, we knew when we scheduled, I mean, Jay's boys always play so tough. You know, it's like I almost feel like he's on the court with them sometimes, just, you know, in terms of the intensity they can play with. And so, you know, when we played and we opened with George Mason, St. Francis, a Princeton, McHenry, obviously from the MIBA, but, you know, just with those kind of out of region teams, the understanding that volleyball is a serving and passing game first, those teams recognize that if they're going to beat some of these teams that are going to be consistently good in all the other areas, they've got to win the serving and passing battle. And so they bring it. And so we got tested early with some big time serves. So I would just say that understanding about how volleyball is won and lost is well understood by the EIBA teams, and it's well executed.
And Brett, with you having some understanding of Penn State, having played them last year in the national championship semifinals, what'll it be like facing kind of that same Penn State team, despite not having the likes of Brett Wildman and Cal Fisher and whatnot?
Yeah, they're missing some guys from last year's team, but they're still very strong, really well coached, a really disciplined team. So it'll be a fun matchup. They still have a lot of great players on their roster. Certainly guys that have had experience in the tournament, and are fourth and fifth year guys now.
Now, I actually want to talk to you too about one person, being Joe Carlos. So Joe obviously was the setter last year, but what can you say about Joe's leadership and how he is just a team first guy and how he continues to put the team before anyone?
Yeah, Joe's been absolutely amazing. We go back a while. We played together since we were like 13 or 14 at Balboa. So we grew up playing volleyball together, know each other really well. And I talked to him before I decided to come here, just knowing that it was going to be a battle between him and I, and that we were going to get the best out of each other. But, you know, this season, he's been a really good teammate and mentor, just talking to me on the sidelines and challenged me in practice. Couldn't ask for a better teammate, honestly.
Yeah, I think the background on the story that I would add is just, you know, when Brett called us and was exploring the idea of coming to Irvine, you know, my first phone call was to Joe and just said, hey, you know, and I told Brett that too. I said, hey, before we chat, I really need to talk to Joe to make sure that I, you know, stay consistent with the vision that I've communicated. And, you know, I'll paraphrase a little bit, but the basic tenor of the conversation with Joe was that why wouldn't we bring Brett in? We're better with him than without him. And, you know, the comment back was, well, that could mean that you end up on the bench. He said, yeah, maybe, but it's still better to have Brett than not have Brett on the team. And I think we should be really mindful to not pretend that isn't a challenge for everybody involved, and that, you know, every athlete would love to play more. But Joe's prioritized, you know, the we before me, which is not a normal operating mode for an 18 to 22-year-old collegiate volleyball player. That's not a normal operating mode for many people, but that's one of the things that makes Joe so special.
And Joe Carlos is definitely an amazing leader, as I will kind of plug this in here. I kind of covered Joe Carlos in his senior or during his high school years at Newport Harbor High. So just had to throw that out there. But anyway, a few more questions and I'll let you two go. So the Big West as a whole is basically a gauntlet. You had your Long Beach State, your Hawaii, CSUN was on the rise, UC San Diego pulled off a few upsets here and there. And then Santa Barbara was popping up here and there, challenging teams. What can you say about the Big West Conference in your words from the both of you?
Yeah, it's a great league. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And I think it's the best in terms of preparing you for the end of the season. You're going to see a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. Certainly some different styles. But like I said, it's invaluable in terms of the experience and exposure you get throughout the season to prepare you for the end of the year.
Yeah, it's just exciting to play everybody. I mean, I almost hate to admit it as a competitor, but back in the old MPSF and in certain years, and this is going back a ways, but it was almost like there were matches where it's like, oh, we have to play these guys, and it felt like a trap match, and nothing about the Big West feels like a trap match. Everyone's just a legitimate opponent, and that's so much fun. It's not hard to get excited or dialed in to give your best because you have to on every given night, and I love that.
And then Coach Kniffin, what will you miss about this year's senior class? And what were some of your favorite memories with the senior class, as well as Brett? I know the season's still going, but what will you just miss about them?
Sure. Yeah, it'd be a longer conversation, but it's the little things that I'll miss the most. I mean, our 8-year-old, went up to Akil after our senior tribute and was just wanted to make sure that Akil was still going to come by the house and visit after he graduated, because sometimes these guys will end up in my living room and playing with the kids or having a cup of coffee on a Sunday afternoon kind of thing. I'll miss that. The, just the authentic conversations in a van ride, just being able to kind of check in, the random off-season phone calls. Hey coach, how's it going? How's the family? I think we know each other through our work and how we show up every day. Okay, certainly in the gym, relationships are built through this striving towards a common objective. But it's so fun for me that, my whole family feels seen by the team. And I think the whole team feels seen by my family. And I feel like every year we graduate guys, I feel like we lose. It's like we're sending them away to college, like they're leaving college. And the irony is, I think for us, we feel like we're sending them away now into this working world. And, our interactions won't be as intimate or as consistent as they have been over the 4, sometimes 5 years of college. And so that's going to be a hole for us. And, and obviously more guys will come in and relationships we built, but I just miss the rhythmic consistency and intimacy of those moments with the guys that are on the squad, especially the senior class, because some have been around for a while.
Teran Rodriguez here of OATIIZ Sports Radio, host of Set Point, with David Kniffin and Brett Sheward, the coach and player of NCAA or UC Irvine men's volleyball. It's 2 more questions, then I'll let you two go. So this is a fill-in-the-blank question. UC Irvine will be the national championship if they blank.
Set Ilir Heno every ball.
Sure.
I love it. All right. Then the last one, and this is kind of a little bit of a big question. So obviously getting better is key for everybody. And if you get 1% better, you basically are getting better no matter what anyone says. So how can I, as well as everyone in the world, such as you two and maybe other content creators like me, help grow the game of NCAA men's volleyball, boys volleyball, and all over men's volleyball together?
Cool question.
Yeah. I'm not super active on social media, so I'm not really sure in terms of that area. But I think just doing your best to spread the word, and getting more people to come to games, because every time I talk to someone that's been to a volleyball game for the first time, they absolutely love it. And they always come back. So getting those first timers.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, I think one of the key functions of a social media outlet or any of the advertising that we do or marketing that we do is really driving people to show up at the events and experience it live and in person. There really is so little in life like a live sporting event, for everything that's created and able to be, seen on TV. Live sports on TV is special, but getting someone courtside to see the kind of the dynamic nature of the men's volleyball game, I think people are blown away by it, when they see it for the first time. So I would just keep hooking them. Hey, if you think this is great, get there and bring a friend. I would love to see all of these outlets become a conduit for bringing people to the matches.
Excellent. And I'll do my best to continue to grow men's volleyball all over the world, especially NCAA men's volleyball. Do you two have any more shout outs you want to give before we head on out of here and let you two go for the day?
I mean, we were being playful a little bit with the Lear comment, but I think, it's pretty special to be a part of a team, the top to bottom. It's definitely a shout out for the NCAA. I think 2 years ago, the NCAA permitted all student athletes to be courtside and part of the bench roster, even if they can't put a jersey on, but allowed us to go beyond the typical 21-person travel roster. And that's just such a huge nod to the process for everyone who's involved in a program, especially as you look at the size of some of these men's volleyball rosters. Most of these guys are paying their own way through school, heavily invested in the process, and for them to get to be there courtside in an NCAA match is big time. So I think that's a nod to everyone who's on the team, not just the guys that make the highlight reels.
And do you have any other shout outs you want to give, Brett, before we head on out, or thank yous?
Just a thank you to my coaches and teammates for making this year special. Couldn't do it without them. It's been really cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you two for your time. I know your schedule is very busy, but I appreciate you two hopping on and letting me interview you two. He's David Kniffin, and he's Brett Sheward, and I'm Teran Rodriguez. And this is another NCAA men's volleyball tournament representative interview. See you all soon.